I tend to like to watch board game videos, man.
Yes, I do. Often in bed while I'm trying to sleep. Welcome to Cardboard and Wine, Episode 7. I'm Mamie.
And I'm Josh.
Grab a glass, pull up a chair, and let's talk about some games.
Today on the show, we hope for one extra crown on our wheat field in the award-winning tile-laying game, Kingdomino.
So, Josh, how's your week going?
Well, I can't complain. I guess I'm still trying to get back into work mode after vacation mode.
Yeah, we just came back this past Sunday from a Disney cruise. We were in the Bahamas for a few days.
Yeah, and poor planning. We did not schedule in a buffer day. We flew back in and got home about 6 p.m. and then on Sunday, and then back to work and school on Monday morning. That was poor planning.
Yes, and then on Wednesday of this week, I am leaving to fly out again to California for a work trip. So
yeah, that's in the morning. You fly out at what time?
6:30.
Yeah, so you are a trooper. I hope our listeners appreciate. We are recording this at 9:30 p.m. and you fly out at
6:30.
6:30
yes,
a.m.
So I
morning.
will be up. I don't even want to think about what time I will be up, but we'll get through this.
Well, we're not going to think about it. We're going to think about board games.
That's right.
For the next few minutes, which I'm glad we are thinking about board games and podcasting about board games because we certainly have not been playing board games since our last episode.
We really haven't. Our lives have been pretty hectic and busy, a lot of travel. We were on a camping trip, and then we were on the cruise, and then I have this work trip this week. Before that, you had a work trip the week before that. So we haven't had a lot of time for gameplay. I think we've played one game since our last episode.
Yeah, I usually, when we record, I like to pull up my board game stats just to refresh my memory about what we've played in the last couple weeks. And the last registered play was something we talked about on our last show 2 weeks ago. So that means we have not played any games.
That's kind of depressing. We've got to get back into gaming. We've even had to cancel our regular Wednesday night game night for the last couple of weeks. I guess you'll be doing that this week, but I won't be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Tomorrow night, game night, will start back up. But actually, I just briefly looked over these board gaming stats, and I'm pretty sure this is our longest spell with no board games in 2 years.
Oh, that's sad. We're going through a dry spell, but that's okay. After this, we should be able to get back in the swing of things.
Yeah, there's two big gaming events coming up where hopefully we can make up for lost time. I've been in the process of scheduling what our gaming group has referred to as JoshCon. I guess we've done this a couple times now. Well, actually, I know a couple times because they're referring to it as JoshCon 3. So
JoshCon 3.0.
The 3, yeah. And so we headed to the beach back in January, and we're going to grab a cabin in the mountains of North Carolina during the first weekend of June. And so that'll be fun just to get away, and it'll be fun. Also a little sad because one of our gaming group members, Toby, is moving away. So this is kind of a going away celebration of gaming with him. So that's a little sad, but it'll be really great to spend some time away for a few days, play some games.
Also, the first week of July, Josh and I are both heading down to Florida for the Dice Tower convention, which is our first major board gaming convention. I'm quite excited about it. I've joined the Facebook group and the guild on BGG.
Yeah, this should be a lot of fun. This will definitely be our first sort of big national gaming con. So from the looks of it, it looks like just 4 or 5 days where people play lots of games, and that's what it's all about. And the resort looks nice. There's a big pool, and we are actually not taking the kids. So at the very least, it will be lots of board games and lots of relaxation. So
what more could we want from a getaway?
I know. Should be fantastic. But like we said, we can't complain too much. We've been doing a little bit of traveling, and I was scouring the last 2 weeks thinking, well, is there anything in there that's worth talking about on the show? And I guess a couple things. So I personally, and you personally, did not play a lot of gaming. My younger brother, was a real trooper. He went with us on the cruise, and he played Uno with our kids at least a couple of times, which is one of their favorite games to play.
That's true. Uno, and I believe there was a Jenga game in there somewhere.
Yeah, I went out onto the balcony of the cruise ship. We had a connecting balcony with my parents, and my brother was out there playing Uno with our kids. And each of them had a hand of like 17 cards, which really brings up my big pet peeve with Uno is, and I'm pretty sure this is a house rule, but I will not play Uno with the rule of you keep drawing until you get a card you can play.
Yeah, I agree. I think that rule is ridiculous and just makes for a long and tedious, terrible game.
Yeah, I insist when I play, you draw one card and you play it or you don't.
But one of the things that's interesting about Uno is that there are so many different house rules for that game. I mean, we had a babysitter once that taught our kids this rule where if you have more than one card with the same number, you can play them both or play all of them instead of just playing one card, which was a rule I had never heard of.
Well, I do appreciate that might make the game go faster. I think I'm an Uno purist. I like, draw one card, play it if you can. You play one card. That's it, one card.
I agree. That's how I've always played.
But yeah, lots of variations. And, I think if we think about these classic games that have been around a while that are kind of out in the culture, Uno being one of them, Monopoly being another, a difference that I see is Monopoly, a lot of people play Monopoly wrong. That's sort of a big problem I think a lot of people have with Monopoly is they play all these house rules that actually make the game way longer and way worse. And not too long ago, we played Monopoly with our game group using the actual rules. And while it wasn't the most fun gaming experience, it also wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I think we have to sometimes trust the designers, even of those kind of classic games, that they knew what they were doing and that the rules are written the way they are for a reason. And when we make those house rules, it tends to actually make the games less fun.
Yeah, I think that's true. But with Uno, though, I would say the makers of Uno seem to have gone in a different direction and have embraced the breadth of house rules. Because, for example, the version of Uno that we have includes blank cards where you can write down whatever rule you want and incorporate it into the game, which you all must have done without me.
I believe I made a card that says draw 6.
Yeah, imagine my surprise when I got the draw 6 card and the swap hands with another player card, which actually that's pretty creative.
Thank you.
That's pretty fun. But anyway, Uno was played around me, but luckily I didn't play it. Another sort of vacation-related thing that we can scrounge for some content in this show is, you mentioned, Mamie, we went on a camping trip with some friends, and that was fun. Did some tent camping, beautiful spring weekend, a couple weekends ago with friends. It was great. But we, for the wine portion, we had some leftover wine in a can.
Yeah, our wine tonight is very unique for us. We are drinking wine in a can, which we bought to take on our camping trip so we wouldn't have to lug around glass bottles. And it's actually surprisingly delicious. This is the Union Wine Company's Underwood Pinot Noir, and that's from out in Oregon, and it comes in a 375 milliliter can.
Yeah, and it's funny. I purchased this wine about a year ago from the same wine shop that carries it
For the same camping trip.
For camping. And both times the owner of the wine shop said to me, "Do keep in mind, this is wine and not a beer." So because the size of the can, it's very similar to what you might see as a typical beer can. And so it's worth noting this is a half bottle of wine. In this can, you don't want to slam down a can of wine because that's like 2.5 glasses of wine. But what do you think of it?
I actually think it's really good. I am surprised by how good it is, considering it came from a can. I know one of our friends that was drinking it when we were camping said he felt like it had a metallic taste, but I think that might have been in his head. I don't pick up on that. I think it's good.
Yeah, this is probably part of the sealing process, but it seemed like there's a slight effervescence a slight carbonation as soon as you pour it, but that seems to go away and it's fairly still after that. Yeah, I think it's passable for wine in a can, drinking while you're sitting outside.
It's perfect. I mean, I pour it into a glass instead of drinking it from the can. It makes me feel a little bit more classy.
That's true. And we are drinking it from a glass tonight, polishing off the leftover wine that we had. But anyway, Mamie, enough about all of those things, enough about the past. Let's talk about our game of the week, Kingdomino. All right, so in Kingdomino, you are a lord who is exploring new lands to expand your kingdom. Through your exploration, you encounter wheat fields, lakes, forests, grasslands, deserts, and mountains, which are all illustrated colorfully on dominoes. Each round, you place your king meeple on one of the 4 face-up dominoes, reserving it for you to place into your kingdom. On the reverse side of each domino is a unique number from 1 to 48, which indicates the tile's relative value. Reserving the most valuable domino can really boost your kingdom. However, you'll be the last to choose in the next round. Now, a number of the dominoes have 1 or more crowns that are also illustrated on the landscape. And at the end of the game, each region of terrain in your kingdom scores a number of points equal to the number of connected squares of that landscape type times the number of crowns. So you could have a really giant wheat field that's made up of 12 squares, but if you don't have any crowns, you score 0 points. And play continues with players selecting from one of the 4 landscape dominoes until all the dominoes are taken. And the highest score is the winner. All right, Mamie, that's a little overview of Kingdomino. So why did we first play this game?
I don't completely remember. You ordered this one, but where did you first hear about it?
Yeah, so Kingdomino came out in 2016, and won the Spiel de Jahres in 2017.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, that's the award given to the best game, typically the best family type game in Germany. And so this game had quite a bit of buzz during 2017, obviously, just to be nominated, but then to win. So I had heard about it, and I tend to like to watch board game videos, Mamie, as you know.
Yes, I know. Often in bed while I'm trying to sleep.
And I'm like, Mamie, check out this video. You were less excited about it than me. Nothing like the sweet sounds of Tom Vassell as you're trying to drift off to sleep.
Exactly.
So anyway, I watched this how to play video and instantly thought the Kingdomino seemed like something we would enjoy and the type of game we could play with a wide range of friends and family. And what really impressed me was that I could pretty much completely understand how to play the game from just a short video. However, it wasn't just that it was simple, because, you know, Mamie, we both like more complex games, but it just really looked fun. So it's not a super expensive game. So I think I was putting together a game order and just decided, like, you know what, let's toss this in. This will be a fun game we'll probably have a good time with.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. I mean, it's been a great addition to our collection, and we have played it a ton since it arrived. Let's talk a little bit about the components of the game. I mean, as you mentioned, it's not a super expensive game because the components are fairly simple. It's a collection of tiles and meeples and then little castles, which don't really have a point but are cute.
Yeah, I think there are 48 of these tiles that are shaped like dominoes. So if you've played Carcassonne before or any game that has little square cardboard tiles, these are like double that size.
Yeah,
so it'd be like if you
rectangles.
had two together, like a domino. Yeah, it has two squares put together. And on those, as I mentioned, there are all these different types of landscape, and they're all very colorfully done. So there's good contrast in color and illustration among the different types. But every domino, each square is kind of a unique combination. So you might have a domino that has a wheat field on one side and water on the other side, or forest and desert, or maybe even 2 fields on both sides, similar to how you would have a domino that would have a 3 and a 4 or 2 5s. But yeah, I agree. The components are great. The tiles are really, really thick. And one thing that's a little unique, I guess, is, you know how a lot of these cardboard tiles have sort of a matte finish. These have a very shiny
Yeah, they're
finish.
definitely glossy.
Yeah,
and
nice
they're very
glossy
pretty.
finish.
And one of the things that's really cool is that there are these little sort of Easter egg of pictures hidden in the tiles. One of my favorites is there's a tile that's water on both sides, and hidden in the water is the shadow of the Loch Ness Monster. It's really just fun.
Yeah, and our kids really enjoy that. They sometimes will select the tile just because it has the cool like sea monster or something fun going on in the field.
Which isn't the best strategy, but it's definitely fun.
Yeah, really engaging tile art. But what do you think about the gameplay, Mamie?
Well, you know, I like a lot of games that I enjoy. It's really pretty simple, but not easy. I feel like a broken record. I know I say that all the time, but I mean, the basics are that you take turns choosing these tiles and placing them in your kingdom, but the complexity really comes with trying to get the tiles that best help you increase the value of your kingdom. And that's, as you said, you know, related to the number of crowns on the tiles or the number of tiles that you can connect in your region. It's simple in terms of learning, but it's complex in terms of understanding the strategy.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it's one of those that has layers. The more you play it, your strategy becomes a little more sophisticated, and you might start at the beginning, the first time or two you play. Well, really, the first time you play it, most people I've played it with, you get about half of the way into making your 5x5 grid, and you realize you've screwed up and there's no way you can actually complete it without throwing a tile away. But then beyond that, you start to move beyond making your own kingdom the best and most optimized it can be, but you start paying attention to what other people need, and you start to layer on this strategy of balancing what's best for me, but also not wanting to leave a certain tile available to my opponent that might be a big scoring tile for them.
Right. And then that complexity is again intensified by the mechanic for how you select tiles. Because as you said, if you take the most valuable tile, then that means in the next round, you're going to get the last choice. And so trying to balance whether you select the most valuable tile or set yourself up to get first choice next time is kind of one of the decisions that adds some complexity to this game.
Yeah, and we should just mention how that mechanic works, because it is fairly simple, but it really is a big part of the game. And so let's imagine you have a 4-player game. For every round, there will be 4 dominoes laid in the middle of the table. And as we mentioned on the back of those dominoes, there will be one number from 1 to 48. In general, 1 being a less valuable tile and 48 being a more rare or more valuable tile. And so going in turn order from the person who selected the most valuable tile in the previous round will be last to go in the current round, and conversely, the person who got the least valuable tile in the previous round will get to go first, which is kind of a good balancing mechanism. But the thing that also is interesting is it's not so simple that the highest value tile is uniformly the best one.
Right.
In general, it's maybe a more rare tile or one with crowns on it. But depending on what you are trying to do in your kingdom, the largest number tile may not be the best one for you. So there's a lot of interesting decisions in thinking about which tile to take.
Definitely. And in the 2-player game, you use 2 meeples. And so you lay out 4 tiles and each person gets to choose 2 of them, but it still follows those same rules. So it's possible that you might get to the 2 most valuable tiles in one round, but then in the next round, the other player gets to choose 2 tiles before you select any. And so similar strategy, but it definitely makes things a little more complicated when you have 2 players, which I like because we play a lot of games as 2-player.
Yeah, and I think the gameplay is surprisingly strategic, especially at 2 players, because you're using all the tiles. And the back of the rule book actually lays out the distribution of the number of each landscape type. Certain landscapes are more plentiful than others, but also the number of tiles of each landscape that have those crowns, which are the multiplier for how many points each landscape type in your kingdom will score. And so you can kind of gauge, all right, I've got a really great field going, and I can see that there are 3 more field tiles with crowns coming out, and so I'm going to keep my eye out for those. So you really can, as you get more familiar with the game, be more strategic. And also, in addition, the rule book lays out a few additional scoring opportunities if you want a little extra challenge. So you can add in bonus points for building a perfect 5x5 kingdom, or having your castle. We mentioned, so you start with the starting tile that has a little castle. And the starting tile is essentially a wild card. You can place any type of landscape adjacent to the starting tile. But if you finish your 5x5 grid with the castle directly in the center, you can get bonus points for that. And then last, the Mighty Duel, which they call the Mighty Duel. And that's a 2-player game where you attempt to make a 7x7 grid using all the tiles instead of 5x5, which really does kind of ramp up the decision-making quite a bit from the 5x5, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we played that. That's the version that we played just last night, and it was definitely a lot more complicated than the 5x5 because on one hand, you're using all the tiles, so it's a little easier to predict kind of what's going to come out. One thing we should mention is that if you do play 5x5 as a 2-player, there's a random selection of tiles that never come out. And so that sort of can impact your strategy if you're banking on knowing what's going to come out. But trying to make sure that you're set up in such a way that you can make a perfect 7x7 grid is not an easy task.
Yeah, and 7x7 is pretty big. I always have to keep counting. Okay, I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this direction, and
right.
And yeah, and we've gotten pretty good at the 5x5 and our patterns for how we like to lay out 5x5. That 7x7 really messed up my strategy.
I don't think either of us did it, right? We both had to throw away a tile.
Yeah, we both had to throw away one tile. But Mamie, what's your favorite thing about Kingdomino?
I keep saying this. I'm definitely kind of a broken record. We're going to have to talk about some more weighty games soon. But I think maybe it's reflective of how busy our life is that when we're playing games, we want things that are a little bit quicker and lighter. And what I like about this game is what I've liked about a lot of the games we've talked about is kind of the universal appeal. We've played it with everyone from our heavy gaming friends to our kiddos, and everybody enjoys it. It's that quick and light and easy to learn, but also thought-provoking. And that's kind of what I'm loving in a game right now.
Yeah, I agree with all those things. There's just something about this game that is very enjoyable. And there are other games we have that are just as simple to play. But, I've played Kingdomino well over 20 times at least, and I love it. Like, I would be happy to play anytime it was suggested by anyone. It's just, there's something very satisfying about choosing the tiles, thinking about how to arrange them, thinking about where to place those crowns to try to maximize your points, and also the spatial puzzle of trying to organize it into a 5x5 grid. There's just something about that that's really satisfying to me, and I really enjoy it. And the fact that it also plays easily in 15 minutes is just an added plus. Easy to fit this game into a busy schedule.
I definitely agree. Is there anything about the game that you don't like?
I really thought about this to think if there was anything I don't like. I guess shuffling the dominoes is a little harder than shuffling cards. Mamie, I know this is tough, but I could not think of anything that I don't like about this game. I mean, now if this was the only game I ever had left to play, I would maybe want a more complex gaming experience. Sometimes this is not an entree game on game night. However, for what it is and what it's trying to be, I think it does it very well, and I can't think of really any way to improve it.
I agree with you. I mean, there's nothing that I can come up with that I don't like. Everything is simple, well-made, gameplay's great. I mean, it really is, for what it is, it's a fantastic game. I will say we did try playing Queendomino. I did not feel the same way about that. How did you feel about Queendomino?
Yeah, when we played Queendomino, we had played Kingdomino a number of times and really enjoyed it. So I was actually pretty excited to try out Queendomino because I had heard it referred to as a gamer's version of Kingdomino. And I thought, well, I'm a gamer and I like Kingdomino, so this is going to be great. But I didn't love it. I was not a big fan of Queendomino because, in my opinion, and again, we only played this one or two times, in my opinion, part of what I like about Kingdomino was that it's clean and it's fast and it's simple. And Queendomino essentially is Kingdomino with just a couple other little mechanics added in that, in my opinion, only added length to the game for the most part without really adding any satisfying decisions. Maybe if I played it more, I would enjoy it more. But honestly, if I was going to take a game like Kingdomino that was just a little more complex and took a little more time, there's probably other games I would rather play, if that makes sense.
No, I completely agree with you. And I'm all about the equal rights for men and women in the gaming world. And so I really wanted to like Queendomino because why should it get to be the king? But it was just not as enjoyable of a game. And it felt unnecessary to me. Kingdomino is great for what it is. And like you said, I think if I was going to play something a little heftier, I'd pick something different.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kingdomino, I've had fun every time I've played it, and the added mechanics of Queendomino, I personally did not find that engaging or fun on top of the mechanics that already exist for Kingdomino. So yeah, I think if I was making a suggestion to someone who was asking which should I get for my collection, I would absolutely recommend Kingdomino over Queendomino. And if they wanted a slightly more complex game, I would probably recommend a different game.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
All right, so we usually like to talk about the theme of this game. So let's talk about the theme of Kingdomino. Mamie, when you select dominoes while playing Kingdomino, do you feel like a lord who's out exploring lands to add to your kingdom?
Not really. I mean, I think theme is kind of superfluous to this game. I don't think it's honestly that important. It could just as easily be set in space or have some other theme, and it wouldn't necessarily matter. I mean, what those little Easter eggs and pictures are would be different, but I think theme is a very small aspect of what makes this game fun.
But be honest, you are glad it is not set in space.
I am. I am very glad it is not set in space. I actually might like it less if it was set in space.
Yeah, you do not like space-themed games.
I don't. I just don't like space.
Which actually we are probably going to discuss Gaia Project coming up, and that's a space-themed game.
I do like Gaia Project. I think I just ignore the fact it's set in space.
In spite of the space theme. Yeah, that is true. All right, Mamie, so when would we break this game out? When have we? I mean, we've broken Kingdomino out lots of times.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we've both said, it's a great game with kind of universal appeal. We play it with our gaming friends, with casual gamers, with the kids. I mean, like you said, I don't think it's an entree game for game night. But it's a great game to break out in between other games or before everybody arrives if you're waiting, for something that's fairly quick. I mean, I think gameplay of this is definitely under 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, under 15. Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. And that boosts it for me, too, the fact that we've had so much fun playing it with our children. Right. As well. And I think I mentioned this on a previous show, but in the previous JoshCon where we went to the beach, we were playing games like Kalis and Indonesia and sort of these heavier multiple hour games. But I had just gotten Kingdomino at that point, so I broke it out. And so we played Kingdomino after a game of Kalis or something like that. And immediately, and none of the other guys had played it, and immediately they wanted to play it again. And then the next day they asked, hey, can we play that Kingdomino game again, right? Which is the same reaction my kids have when we play Kingdomino. And I think that just says a lot to me about this game. So we've said a lot about Kingdomino. So let's give our final thoughts and our rating. And so just to remind everyone of our wine-themed rating scale, it's a 1 to 5 scale where a 1 is just an empty, dusty old bottle of wine. Not good for anything except the recycle bin. A 2 would be a $2 chuck from Trader Joe's. If you don't have anything else, it might do the trick. 3 would be this wine in a can that we are drinking.
This week it's in a can.
Yeah, so not the wine we're drinking now. In a certain context, like going camping,
it's perfect.
It might be the perfect game for a certain context. A 4 might be a really nice Merlot, something easy to enjoy regularly. You've poured a glass. You'd look forward to having some more and sharing it with your friends. And a 5 is a big, bold California cab that is only going to get better with age. So, Mamie, tell me your final thoughts and your rating of Kingdomino.
So this is hard because I think it's a 4.5. I like to go off the scale. It's definitely a game that we enjoy playing and look forward to enjoying more and more. And I think we'll play it a lot over time. I think the only thing that keeps it from being at that very top is the sort of simplicity of it and the fact that I think if this was, as you said, the only game we had for the rest of our lives, we probably would get tired of it. And so I think that's the only thing that keeps it from being that very, very top for me. But it is a solid 4.5. Yeah,
no, that's a good rating. And I actually considered the 4.5 for me, but I'm trying to hold steady to using the 5-point scale. And, this has been really tough because, we have really, at least in these early episodes, have really focused on games we really like. And at its core, this is a show about games we really like. I guess if it's a game we hate, we probably wouldn't spend the time to talk about it.
No, we totally should. That's what we should do an episode on games we hate.
Games we hate. Yeah, so Monopoly. We can use the entire scale. Yeah, Monopoly would not get a 4.5. Because, I really hate to do this because just last episode, I gave Azul a 5 out of 5. But there was really no way I couldn't give this game also a 5 out of 5. And that is with the caveat of, for what it is, a quick family game. This one is just so fun. It's well produced. It's quick to set up, quick to play, But for me, it's strangely satisfying to decide how to build my kingdom and how to optimize it, how to decide which tile to choose, the balance between benefiting myself and maybe hate drafting against you. Strangely satisfying.
You find hate drafting against me strangely satisfying?
Strangely satisfying. But yeah, especially the 2-player game is great. Like I mentioned, I've played this well over 20 times. Still love it, probably more than I did before. And I especially enjoy playing, I equally enjoy playing it with my kids and also my heavy gaming group. And I really can't think of any other game that is that way. And so I guess for me, the game is perfect as it is. So that's a 5 out of 5. I couldn't think of any other way to rate it. This would also be another definite shelf staple for me and one that I have recommended to others who are looking for new games. And next week, we'll find a game we hate.
Good idea. All right. Thank you all for listening to Cardboard and Wine. For show notes, links, and other fun info about the games we discuss on the show, you can visit our website at cardboardandwine.com.
If you have feedback on the show or suggestions for a future show, we'd love to hear it. You can send us a tweet at Board and Wine. You can find us on Instagram at Cardboard and Wine, or you can email us at cardboardandwine@gmail.com. You can also jump into our guild on Board Game Geek.
You can leave us a review on iTunes. We'd love to hear from you. Since we are a brand new podcast, it'll help new listeners find the show.
All right, Mamie. Until next time,
cheers and happy gaming.